Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sumit and here I'm with my new video in Salesforce integration. The topic for today video is that we'll see that how do we send the data between two org or how do we send the data from one Salesforce org to another Salesforce org by using screen flow. You might have gone through my previous videos on my YouTube channel, and there I have explained that how do we perform an integration between two Salesforce org by using a record triggered flow. That how do we make an HTTP call out by using a flow. But in that example, in that video, we prepared that video. In that example, I explained how to do it by using a record triggered flow. And the scenario was very simple. The requirement was very simple that whenever we create a new record into an account object in one Salesforce org, I would like to create the new or I just want to add the same account in another object, in another Salesforce instance in account object. But in this case, I use record trigger flow. No, recently I come across with a business requirement, and the requirement is that how do we create a screen flow in org1? And once the user submit the data, fill the details in org1 in a screen flow and click on the save button, so that information gets stored into another object. So let me show you practically first what actually I'm looking for, and then I'll tell you the implementation for that. So this is the flow actually I'm talking about. And if I run this flow, if I run this flow, in this flow, what's going to be happen in this flow that once we fill the account name and account phone, it will generate the same similar account name and phone, similar record into another Salesforce org. So let me show you that. So let's refresh this once. So So this is the flow I created, and in this flow, this is a screen flow. As you can see, that's a screen flow. So when I run this flow, or you can debug also. So I click run this flow, and I'll just add the account name as test account org1, phone number 123456789. We click on save, and once we click on save, and if the process will be completed, if the record gets created onto org2, we'll get a confirmation message that account created successfully with account ID 1. I click finish. Now let's verify this whether this account has been created in the new in org 2 or not, in the target org or not. So this is my target org. Right now it's blank. But when I refresh, you can see a new account added here successfully, name as test account org 1. So this record added just now, as you can, let me show you this as well, just to clear the doubts that this record gets created just now. That's the time, date and time, and that's the time when I'm creating this, when I will be creating this video. So that means the requirement completed successfully. Now let me show you step-by-step implementation how we are going to achieve this. But before we proceed with this video in this tutorial, don't forget to like, subscribe my YouTube channel, and also don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss an update about the new videos, updated videos on various technology, especially on Salesforce and other tools. So you might have gone through my one of my previous recording where I've explained that how do we perform an integration, Salesforce org integration using, or how to integrate two Salesforce org with flows, HTTP callouts, and name credential. And in this example, I have explained that by using a record trigger flow, we send the data from one org to another. So you have to follow the similar steps what we have configured here. So the very first step is you need to make sure that you have created a in the org B or in your target org, you need to create a connected app and configure callback URL. In org B, we need to add Apex REST web service class also. And in org A, auth provider, external credentials, name credentials, and assign external credentials to user. And instead of record triggered flow, we will be going to create a clean flow. So what you have to do, you have to follow the same process, same implementation, what we have done here. Let me quickly show you. I have already done that. So the very first step is if I navigate to setup. So let me show you that I have already configured successfully the external client app. So here I have already configured external client app. This one, external client app. So I have already configured a client app, and from here I obtain the consumer key and consumer secret. So I obtain consumer key and consumer secret from this, right? So this all customization, all configuration I have already done. Fine, everyone. This all configuration, all settings I have already done. Now, uh, on the source org, what I did on the source org, I configured the auth provider and whatever callback URL generated from here, that callback URL I provided in my target org connection settings in the client external client app setting. Okay. One more implementation I have done in my in my target org, and what's that? I created one Apex web service class because in the previous video we have used record triggered flow and we directly add the record into an account object. But this time I just use REST resource, basically REST resource URL mapping, and I trigger this Apex REST web service class. And in this class, I use create account function. Method will be HTTP post. There are two variables, two parameters, string name and a string phone. These parameters will be going to pass from the screen flow, which we are going to create in the source org. Then I insert a record uh, because this we want to send a respond back to the source screen flow in order to display the message. So therefore, I use here REST response and I create a map option, map variable map string comma object, and here I store success will be true, message will be account created, and account ID will be a.id, and the content type I set as application JSON, and I set the response body as JSON.serialized response. Usually what do? We use a string or we use the s object, but this time I did not use any string. I did not set a return type, but still this function, once this Apex web resource will complete the operation, it will send the information back to the source org screen flow. So that's all we have to done in the target org. Now let's get back to the source org because the actual implementation we have to configure in the source org. So my auth provider is configured. My external credential, when I go to named credential, and in the name credential, we need to configure the external credentials. So in the name credentials, I have successfully configured my external credential name as org external credentials. And here I have set the name, I set the principal also. So I have followed the same step what we configured in this video. So I will share I will share the link of this video in the description below if you haven't gone through this video. So it is important before you work on before you implement today's case study key use case, you have to go through this video again. You have to go through this video once before you proceed with today's topic. So so this is my external credential, and this external credentials I mapped to my named credentials. So as you can see, this external credential I mapped to my named credential, and this is the URL. What is this URL? This is the URL we have obtained from the source org, and the same URL I pass here. So this is my named credential. Then we configured the permission set, and now it's time to create a flow. So how do we create a flow? Let's have a look. So the requirement is I just want to create a screen flow in order to get the input from the user. And then once the user submit the data, we will be going to pass the information to our Apex web service class in the source org. So let me show you how do we create a flow. So let me show you the implementation of that flow. So I click on a new flow button and we are going to create a new we will be going to create a screen flow. So it will redirect us to the screen flow. So I'll create a screen flow, and I just want to get two inputs from the user. So I'll just create a new screen here, and I'll just say, let's say account screen, and I'll just remove the header, and in the footer, I'll hide previous, hide pause, and instead of this, I use save. And I want to store name and phone. So I use text and phone, name and phone. And I label this as account name, make it required. And this is account phone. And this API name as account underscore phone. I did not set it as required because it is not mandatory. So I this is my screen. Let me save this flow and I just write new account screen flow. You can give any name you want. Now we have to configure we need to configure one HTTP action. So how do we do that? I just click on action and in the action, I'm going to set HTTP action. So I use create HTTP call out, right? I use HTTP call out. And in HTTP call out, I'll just give this name as org1 org, let's say org to org HTTP call out action. And the name credential, this is the name credential, this is the URL in the name credential. Next, here I write org1 to org2 connection. The method will be post method because we want to insert a record. Now the complete URL path will be slash services slash apex rest slash. And in the target org, I created one like the Apex Web Service class. And in order to trigger this Apex Web Service class, we always use the alias. So I pass an alias. Do we need to pass any parameters here? No, we don't have to pass any parameters. I click on next and I need to give the sample JSON. We need to set the sample JSON. So the sample JSON I will be using here is name. The reason why I'm using name because this is the parameters we are going to pass name and phone. So name, let's say test account, comma, phone as number. We can review this string, and I click on next. In the next step, select sample response method. So what will be the sample response method we wanted to choose here? So I'm going with connect for schema and next. And as you can see, let's say sample JSON response. And when I click connect, so what it will do, it will submit a test request onto this URL, and whatever the response, that response will store under data structure. So we successfully able to get the account ID, message, and success. And this is because of this response. If we use a string, then definitely we will not be able to get get this response. So we want the response we want the response in this format. So therefore, I use instead of using string, I use a void, and I explicitly set the REST response here. Save this. So our HTTP connection has been established successfully. Now the next is we need to set the request body. So here we have to set up a request body. So I'm just going to create a new resource and I label this as request body. And Done. Now in this request body, we need to pass the values. We need to pass the values. So before this org one, I just use here assignment and I just write set account details. And where to set the values in or in the request body, we have name and phone. And this request body we have set while setting up the HTTP connection. So name and request body dot phone. And so the name account screen dot account name and phone account screen dot account phone dot value. So I successfully store name and phone into this. I save this. Now, the next implementation is we need to verify if the connection established successfully. Then we need to, if the connection established successfully, we need to display a confirmation message. So here I'm going to add a decision block. And in this decision block, uh, request processed successfully or not. I want to verify this. So how do I verify this? Successful transaction and default outcome failed transaction. So in the how do I verify whether it's a successful transaction? When this HTTP action, it will make a request to the source or to the target org. And if the target org completed the response, like completed the operation successfully, it will respond back with the response code as 200. So here I'm going to verify this output from org. And here we have response code. If the response code equals to 200, that means the response is successful. Otherwise, the response is failed. And the failed transaction, by default, it is failed. If it is not 200, if it is not success, obviously it will be failed. And if it is successful, I want to display a screen. This will be my final screen, and I want to display a confirmation message onto this. So here I just say configure header and configure footer, hide previous, hide pause. And I want to display a message, display text, and let's say label 2. And I write here account created successfully with ID. Now, how do we get the ID? Because here in the response, we will be returning the ID. So this account ID I want to display here. So resource and here output 2x, and here we are getting account ID. So this account ID I display here. Let me make it bold. Let me increase the size. Let me make this bold. I'll increase the size. And one thing I'll do here with the ID, I will mark this ID in a different color so that we can easily differentiate that. That's all. Save this. And now we are going to click on debug. So when I click on debug, we'll click on debug and verify this. Right now on account, we got only one record. So I'll get back to my target org, and here there is only one account created this week, test account org. And this is the one we created again for testing purpose. And what I'll do now, I will uh, click run, and here we have to, so I just write here, let's say AITechone test account, phone number will be this. And when I click save, let's have a look. The process completed successfully or not. And I received a successful message, account created successfully with the ID. Let's verify this. I refresh and you can see a new account created here successfully. So this is the way we can create the records successfully from one org to another org by using screen flow. That's the way we can implement this. So that's all in this tutorial. And if you have any queries or any questions, you can drop an email to us or you can reach out to us on the given numbers. For more updates about the content, you can visit our website www.aitechone.com. There you will get more update about the course curriculum and the training we offer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a nice day. Goodbye.